Joining me now, Dr. Zeke Emanuel of Penn Medical, a former health advisor, policy advisor to President Obama, author of a new book titled, Which Country Has the World's Best Health Care? Well, let's fact check what we just heard as well, because you heard the president, I think he caught himself as he said that there is a vaccine for HIV/AIDS, which of course there is not, in promoting the fact that he believes there will be a vaccine soon and talking about the pandemic as though it's over. And when we looked at that Rose Garden, the only masks I saw, I did see Senator Mitch McConnell wearing a mask and the military aides were wearing masks, but that was about it?
Yeah, it was pretty shocking. They were violating almost every rule they had. They were very close to each other. They were touching each other. You saw people handshake. And as you point out, Attorney General Barr, Senator Scott, Jared Kushner, none of them wearing face masks, talking within, inches of each other, patting each other on the chest, holding hands. Really seemed like they didn't get the memo that's been circulating for at least 3 months about how to prevent transmission of the virus. And it's pretty not good leadership.
What about the new announcements from Oxford that there is a commonly used steroid that has now been found effective in treatment of severe cases of COVID in terms of helping people recover and avoid fatalities?
Well, I feel like we're in the same boat over and over again, which is this is a press release, not a peer-reviewed paper. Nonetheless, if this is true, it is a very important progress. It's probably the most important progress in terms of therapeutics that we have. Dexamethasone, which is the steroid they use, is really cheap, widely available throughout the world. And they report that it decreased the mortality by a third. It's a randomized controlled trial. It's done out of UK, where they really know how to do these kind of trials. So I don't have serious doubts about it. We'd like to see the paper to actually look at the methods and everything. But if it's true, it is a major and important therapeutic step forward.
Zeke, what are you concerned about the spikes in a number of places we're seeing in the Southeast and the Southwest as well, potentially because of reopenings, because of Memorial Day weekend? What is your analysis showing?
Yeah, if you look, we haven't decreased the number of cases in the country. It's really been flat. It's just where the cases are. They were in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and now they've moved south and southeast. And if you actually look at the map of where the cases are going down and where the cases are going up, you've got the Northeast that really did a very stringent lockdown for the last few months. Cases are really dropping. On the other hand, places that sort of said, oh, we're not sick. We don't need to adhere to these public health measures of physical distancing, wearing face masks, not avoiding crowds. You're seeing a big resurgence. And you can look at it when they open up and when the curve goes up in the terms of the number of cases. It's basically 4 weeks exactly from those dates. And if you don't adhere to these public health measures, you will have this problem. And, subsequently, that's going to lead to overloaded hospitals as well as an increase in the number of deaths. We're at 115,000 deaths. Pretty reliably, we will get to, between 240, 250,000 deaths by the end of this calendar year. It's a tragedy. We can avoid this if we stick to the measures. But when you have leadership doing Rose Garden press conferences, not even sticking to their own recommendations to the public, I don't see how you can expect the public to do better.
In fact, there was a warning in his testimony today from the Fed chairman, Jay Powell, that any improvement in the economy is going to be dependent on the virus. And he's been saying this over and over again. And so those great retail sales numbers that the president is touting, this recovery and maybe his reelection will be dependent on sticking to his own guidelines. Yet he's going to Tulsa against the advice of health officials in Oklahoma.
So the Tulsa rally violates every single thing we know about transmission. An enclosed space, large crowds for a prolonged period of time, yelling, shouting, coughing, sneezing on each other. That is how you transmit this virus. You only need a few people to really transmit and have a super spreading event. It is bad policy. It violates his own CDC's recommendations. It just shouldn't happen. And it's pretty clear what Powell says. You will get some economic return, but the American public has spoken loud and clear. They're not going to go back to normalcy until we actually can tame this virus, and that's going to happen with the vaccine, and probably not till next year.
Zeke Emanuel, Dr. Zeke Emanuel, thank you so much. Thanks for being with us.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.